Good morning and welcome to DTC Wine Workshops and the Consultant Network Intro Webinar with Ryan Clark. This is Sandra Hess, founder of DTC Wine Workshops, and I am pleased to introduce Ryan Clark today. He is a specialist in wine marketing and winery e-commerce, having worked at wineries himself directly supporting sales and marketing growth. Ryan brings a wealth of knowledge to the direct-to-consumer wine workshops network. You can find more information about Ryan by visiting the DTC Wine Workshops Consultant Network page, or Meet the Network rather, and learn a little bit more about Ryan, connect with him here. He is offering a half-hour complimentary consultation as a follow-up from today's webinar session. So just to give you a quick overview, the DTC Consultant Network serves wineries of all sizes nationally in the areas of direct-to-consumer sales, marketing, customer service, retention, and brand expansion. So in today's webinar, Ryan's going to share with you some tips and tricks around e-commerce and winery marketing. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ryan.
All right. Thanks, Sandra, for the intro.
Yes.
I just thought I'd just give you a quick little introduction about myself. So I've been currently reside in Napa and have been part of the wine industry here in the Valley for 10 years now. Most recently, I was GM at a couple smaller wineries here in the Valley, Kelly Fleming and Checkerboard Vineyards. And then last year, I decided to go ahead and start my own consulting company, and immediately teamed up with Sandra and joined the DTC network as well. So I primarily focus on direct-to-consumer marketing and sales, with specifically really helping manage wine releases and club shipments. I also help a lot of wineries really dial in their e-commerce as well. So primarily I work with N65, but have also managed the transition. We've done about six or seven different winery conversions over to their software platform, but I also work with a few of the other ones out there as well. So. All right, so without further ado, I thought we'd just jump into it here. I thought it'd be fun to really go over really managing a new release. So when a winery is ready to launch a new vintage, I think it's obviously your best sales opportunity at that point. So I thought it would be fun to really just go through a sort of best practices scenario of launching a new vintage. So some little prep work that I think is really important to get everything going. So when you have a new vintage, I think the best thing to do, I would say probably starting in January, is really try to develop a marketing calendar. So sit down, map out when the wines are going to be released over the year, put those dates down, and then you can really set a start date, due date, and set a person responsible for each task that you need to do before the actual launch of that new vintage. So you want, this would include any you need so many things, such as photographs, writing tasting notes, just drafting the emails, letters, etc. Before the actual offer goes out. So I think it's really important to write down everything you need for that next release, and then set a start date and due date and a person responsible, so you can really follow up and keep on track, as you progress towards that final release date. So I think a big first decision really comes right away of what sort of marketing campaign do you want to do. There's a few options out there. I think the majority of people usually do an email release. You could also do a physical mailer, and a phone campaign, I think, is also really worthwhile. So in this little scenario that we're talking about today, we're going to do all three of these. So a few more little prep items. You obviously definitely need to think about inventory. So moving your inventory around where each of your warehouse locations are. So if you use a fulfillment center, you'd obviously want to get them stocked up. If you're offering a pickup option, you'd want to get some wine up to the winery so you're ready. Everything is checked in before the actual shipment is going to go out. Most often a lot of warehouses take at least 48 hours just to check wine in, and then transit time and all that factoring in. So this is something you definitely want to include on that marketing calendar to make sure you meet all your deadlines. And just a few more things, you obviously want to just compile all the information on the new release. So working with the winemaker owner on tasting notes, making sure you have bottle shots ready to go, all that sort of thing that you might use in the actual marketing material. And then another crucial step is obviously whichever e-commerce platform you're using, you'll need to go ahead and set up the actual SKU or multiple SKUs for that new vintage, so you're actually able to do an offer and process orders. I put the little arrows on the bottom. I mean, most often everyone has their own e-commerce system that might then talk to ship compliant or wine direct compliance, where you would also need to make sure that new SKU is set up properly. And then if you use a fulfillment house, they're obviously going to need that new information. So when you push orders through each chain, you're not going to get any delays or issues in that way. So, all right. So I think definitely here's the first email release is a really big. Pretty much everyone does this for a new vintage. So I'm just going to focus more on just some thoughts about best practices and making sure you have a great looking email. So there's obviously a number of actual platforms that you can use to launch your emails. I really like MailChimp and Campaign Monitor. They have great really just basic templates that make it pretty easy to send out emails, and they also have great analytics. Once you launch the email, you're really able to dial in and see how the release went, who opened the email, who clicked through, who purchased. A few of the e-commerce platforms have their own internal email system as well, like Bin65 does. Those are, I think, useful, but don't quite provide the analytics to really look at how that campaign performed. So I would definitely look at a few of the options that are out there. So the other thing that's really important, I think, is really developing a really nice template that you can then use multiple times throughout your really a few years of releasing new wines. Obviously, the important thing is you really want to capture the attention of the customer. We get so many emails on a daily basis, so you want to think about how your email is going to stand out. And a good way to do that is by having a really beautiful template that a designer, web designer, can help you implement and it's just going to give that email that much more pop. So I think that's really, a fairly inexpensive investment, but is really going to benefit you. So obviously you'll need to draft some of your text, create and select imagery and video. I think video is a really great tool to use, even on an email campaign, having it link directly to a video that introduces the new wine. Perhaps it's the winemaker sitting down and just going through their thoughts about the wine, how it's tasting. Just like keep it short and sweet. And I've seen a lot of really great emails go out, with a video included, and it just makes them that much more interesting, I think, to the end customer. Also, before you send out that email, you want to make sure your website is up to date. So you have that new vintage on the wines page, or on your general shopping cart page, or if you're doing an allocation, you obviously want to make sure that new wine is up there. And since an email release, it's going to drive traffic to the website. So just in general, it's a good best practice to really come through your website on a quarterly basis and just make sure it's up to date. And adding, if you have a blog and that sort of thing, you want to make sure you have a fairly recent entry. The really big thing here is test your email campaigns before you launch them. I mean, it's just amazing how many emails I get. I'm obviously work in the wine industry, but I'm a big time wine consumer as well, and I'm on a lot of lists. And I got an email last week from a really high-end winery, and it basically said, here we're launching our new 2014 Chardonnay, and then the rest of the email didn't even show up. It was just a bunch of random characters. So send that test, please, before you're launched out to your entire list. All the little email platforms offer a ability to send a test email. So just a reminder to think about that. Then I have email list segmentation. So that's really pulling your customer list from your e-commerce platform, deciding on who is going to get this email. So obviously email is an easy thing because it really is cost effective, doesn't really cost much at all. But if you're able to customize that email a little bit to the group that you're then going to send it to, it obviously just makes it that much more personal and fun. So, and then reminder emails. That's really just I think it's important to send out an email, say on I think a Tuesday or Wednesday morning is a really prime time, and then you can follow up perhaps a week later with a reminder, and then maybe a last call, sort of here we're closing the release this weekend, so just give me a last opportunity to get the vintage. So I thought it'd be fun. These are just a couple of, I think, great examples of a impactful email. So Ladera here, they just have a really beautiful template that they're using. I think it just pops and grabs your eye immediately. An exclusive opportunity to experience our new wine. That's a great intro line, and just kind of pulls the reader in. Just a nice bottle shot, and then really kind of goes into the more text about the actual wine they're releasing, and even offers the deal on complimentary ground shipping. So I think this is a just really solid email that definitely made me want to read into the wine and possibly purchase. This is another, I think, nice one. Schrader, obviously, they don't have too much trouble selling their wines, but I think what's nice about this template is it really meshes with their website. So it's got the exact same look and feel, the exact same little taskbar. So all your main navigation on the top, that all links directly to their website and looks exactly like you were on their website. But this is obviously a email, and just a nice front end picture there. So I thought that was also a really nice example. So how about the next thing I think is still worth doing is a physical mailer. I really recently did a new release, and I think with the idea that I mentioned before about how many emails we get, so often an email can get overlooked or go into the spam folder. So I think doing a physical mailer is still worthwhile. Obviously, it's going to be that much more expensive, but I think it's if you're able to really comb out, perhaps you do the email release first and then you do a physical mailer, so you can pull out anyone who's hasn't read the email and just send those folks a physical mailer, so you can help reduce your costs a little bit that way. But it's important, I think, and still worthwhile. So with a mailer, obviously you're looking at, you want the more impact from a physical presence, since the customer is going to be holding this letter, reading this letter. So you can think about the what sort of size do you want to do? Do you want to do a typical 8.5 by 11, or perhaps a postcard or 4 by 6 size, something different to stand out? You obviously have the weight and feel of the stationery. Imagery, I think, is also really important. Just having a great picture is, I think, gonna pull in the customer that much more and really have them read the rest of the document. And then customization, so using your typically mail merge fields, make it custom. And I think it's also a great touch to sign your letters. So it might take an hour or two to go through 1,000 letters, but I think it is worth it. So this was a good example, I thought. This is from Larkmead Vineyards. They always send out a physical mailer launching their club shipment. So I think it's a great introduction paragraph too. Draws you in, really makes you glad that you're actually going to have a chance to receive these wines. And then obviously on the bottom there you can see that it is signed by Colin, who's the general manager. And I think it's just a nice little touch. This was more a kind of postcard size example from Continuum. So just a beautiful shot of their vineyard on Preacher Hill, and then just a really short and sweet message about their new vintage, and it's going to be their first wine 100% from the estate. So this was really sent out and then followed up with an actual email with a purchase opportunity at that point. This one here from Rudd is just a more typical example, just a really nice bottle shot, and then just goes into the tasting notes. But it's a great bottle shot, and it's done really well. This was on a really nice cardstock, and I think looks really good. So I think the last thing to really think about when you're doing a new release is getting on the phone. I think the best time to do this is after your email and then after your mailer, following up on people who have purchased from you in the past but maybe missed, perhaps they were out of town or missed the email, missed the mailer. I think it's important to really follow up with a phone campaign. So you want to pull out your list, so list segmentation. Who are you going to call? You obviously want to target your really best customers first, and then work your way down. what I've always found with phone campaigns is how, I guess, surprising is people love hearing from us in wine country, and I think it just reminds them of perhaps the fun times they had when they were out here, and they're always curious to just chat about what's going on in the vineyard, how are the wines tasting. So I think you don't need to be afraid of calling everyone, sounding like a salesman. I think the language just needs to iterate. Maybe you're just calling to invite them to the property if they're coming out. We have the summer and harvest travel months coming up. Maybe you just invite them out if they're going to be traveling to come by the winery, and then you can maybe just mention quickly, we just released our 2013 Cabernet. We'd just love to give you an opportunity to not miss out on that wine. So, and if you think you don't have the time to really dive in and make 100 or 250 calls, there are some pretty great services out there that can help you out with that. So Behind the Vine, Chatterbox, there's a few other ones, and they will make the calls on your behalf. And they'll obviously take a little commission, but they're a really nice way to kind of finish off your release, with a big push, and make a little bit more dollars on it. So what about so you finished all those, you sent the email, perhaps you sent a physical mailer as well. What do you do now? I think it's important that the job is not done. The last step, shipping and fulfillment, is so key. We're obviously offering wine. It's really a luxury product, and you want that wine getting to its final destination, the customer's home or work, in the quickest possible way and arriving safely. So I think it's a really important aspect to allocate yourself some time during the release and right after, when you're getting ready to ship, to help handle any exceptions. If people are going to be out of town, or you're going to get some redirects and all that sort of thing, is just give yourself some time to be able to follow up on those items, because it's so important. I think also a nice touch is to put in a nice insert in your package. So it could be a more personal note, or a more vintage tasting notes, or a nice kind of drinkability range on the wine that you're sending out. Just a nice touch when they open the package. There gives you another marketing opportunity to have that in something nice in the box. So as far as obviously I primarily work on the back end and really help a few wineries run their releases. So choosing the correct e-commerce software for your winery is important, because there's a few out there that really do clubs really well, or they do allocations really well, or they just have a great online shopping cart. So I've used, I can confidently say, 90% of all the systems out there in some sort of way, and definitely have been able to come up with a few favorites that I think do a really great job and make your life on the back end much easier, but also have a great front end customer experience. So that will make processing easier. And another follow-up, obviously, if you do a club shipment, you're always going to have your declined credit cards. There's some pretty great. Vin65 just launched a new part of their package with the Plus package that will actually auto-update expired cards as they occur, or they have a feature called Action Emails that sends out an email once they see an expiration date coming. So always important to keep that in mind. All right, and I think that really summarizes everything up. Obviously, if you guys have any questions, you can direct them to Sandra or myself, and any questions, we'd love to go ahead and answer them too.
Wonderful, Ryan. Thank you so much for this very informative presentation. You just provided so many great gems, I think, when it comes to, taking advantage of your email communications to not only grow sales, but as you mentioned, stay better connected and from a customer service perspective, really stay on top of things. So a couple of questions that have come up in the chat window here. One, you mentioned a couple of different marketing companies. Which one is your preferred email marketing company, MailChimp versus Vertical Response?
You know, a little bit of is personal preference, but I think I prefer MailChimp over Vertical Response. I think more the reason being MailChimp has really nice, easy to use templates that will just give I think they're a little bit more design oriented, so they just have a little better look and feel than I think of some emails coming out of Vertical Response. But if you are able to bring in a web designer to help you draft a really nice email template, at that point you can pretty much use any of the systems out there because they will all be able to take that source code and get it dialed in. So.
Okay, great. And so along that line also with using MailChimp, a question's come up around segmentation. And so exporting the contact list, the customer list from, let's say, a Vin65 or any e-commerce backend into MailChimp, do you recommend that the list gets segmented into groups, let's say all California customers versus Florida? How do you recommend best segmenting that huge amount of data from the e-commerce software into, let's say, a MailChimp?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question. I think it definitely depends on, your list size. If, you have maybe a few thousand customers, I think you should segment as much as you can. I think doing a state by state is a nice one, but perhaps maybe it's more based on your VIP customers. Perhaps they get a different email that's a little more thankful, a little bit more touchy-feely, and appreciating their support, and perhaps giving them a better deal or a better offer, or being able to purchase more wine. So I think doing it on lifetime value from what the customers have spent might be the best way. That's the way I usually do it. So.
Okay, great advice. We'll take one more question here and then wrap up. Let's see. How many times should wineries email customers versus members?
So I think from the customer side, I usually do 3 emails. So your first launch, say on a Tuesday, then perhaps follow up a week later with a reminder, and then a couple days after that with a last call. So I usually do 3 emails to customers for a general release. And then for club members, it's a little different. I usually send 1 email out to them about a week in advance of when you're going to process their order. So it gives the winery a chance, or the customer a chance, to maybe increase their order or change their order, change their address, that sort of thing. So club members usually just get the 1 email up front, and then the actual receipt of their order. So. Okay,
great. Well, again, thanks for your time, Ryan. You've been really helpful in explaining really some email marketing best practices, as well as touching on some e-commerce best practices to really fully utilize those online tools to stay connected in between visits. And so I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen here and walk the viewers through the best way to connect with you for scheduling a online consultation. Again, you'll find at the dtcnyworkshops.com website the Meet the Network page located here. You'll find Ryan's bio, and please do reach out to him With a contact form, schedule your half-hour online intro session. In addition, I wanted to let you know other ways to stay connected with DTC Wine Workshops and the Consultant Network. The blog page here is a wonderful resource to stay up to date on latest direct-to-consumer wine sales, marketing, and customer retention trends. So go ahead and get signed up when you have a chance. Check out our latest blogs. Find us on social media. We look forward to hearing back from you. Any other questions you might have following today's session, let us know and we're happy to follow up. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your day.